Hello there, and welcome to the Healthy Church Staff Podcast. My name is Todd Rhodes. I'm one of the co-founders over at chemistrystaffing.com. And today we're tackling a crucial topic for any church: fair and competitive compensation for your staff. Our recent survey that we did, our church staff health assessment that we did last year, revealed that while a majority of church staff feel like their pay is on par with similar roles in other churches, there is a significant number that still expresses some dissatisfaction or some uncertainty. And in this episode, we're going to dive into what contributes to these perceptions and explore some practical steps that you can take in your church to create a more equitable compensation environment. Okay, we talked about this a little bit on yesterday's episode, but let's unpack the numbers just a bit. According to the survey, about 58% of church staff agree that their compensation is fair and competitive compared to similar positions in other churches. About 21% don't believe that their compensation measures up, and about 21%, another 21%, are kind of neutral on the issue. So while it's encouraging that most church staff, 58%, are satisfied, we still can't ignore those that aren't. And we really want to dig in deeper to understand some of the reasons behind this dissatisfaction and take some action steps to address it. So if you're in charge of your church staff or on church leadership, what can you do to ensure fair and competitive compensation? And I want to share kind of 5 key strategies that can help you to at least know that you're in the ballpark and to help people feel like, yeah, what they're, at the very least, what they're paying me, what my compensation level is, does make sense. Okay, 5 kind of benchmarks and strategies. The first is just to conduct some annual benchmarking, right? Compare roles within your church to similar positions in other churches and related organizations. This is more data-driven, honestly, but it's going to help you identify and address any kind of pay disparities. And this is something that I can help you with if you want to reach out to me at podcast@chemistrystaffing.com. In real estate, we often talk about if you're looking for a house, your realtor is going to look for comps, what they call comps, which are other houses that are comparable. And we can do this with church salaries as well. We can look at other churches, other similar roles, other churches of similar sizes, other churches in your general geographic location, and come up with some, what we feel are some benchmarks for staffing. And we do this for churches quite often, where a church will reach out and say, hey, we just need to know, are compensation levels in line with what we should be doing? If you would like us to help you with that and do a compensation study, you can always reach out to me at podcast@chemistrystaffing.com. But that's the first strategy, is just conducting that annual kind of audit. This is what we pay. Is this what we should be paying? Okay. A second strategy is just communication with your team. Explain this. Annual reviews are a great place to do this. But as part of those reviews, one-on-one, explain how salaries are set and how the staff member can influence their compensation. I think there's one thing for a staff member to feel like they're being paid fairly. There's another thing for a staff member to feel like they have any input or any kind of opportunities for that compensation to increase, or for their position title even to get some promotion in the future. That transparency that you build into that annual process is going to help build some trust and understanding around these decisions. So it's really a conversation between you and your staff member to make sure that there's some clarity on compensation levels. So that's the second strategy. The third strategy is just to establish some kind of feedback mechanism. Give your staff members a safe place, a safe space that they can express their concerns about compensation. Again, that might be through that annual review, but make sure that they have an opportunity to give direct response and input, and that their response will not be frowned upon, that you actively solicit their response. Active listening and responding really demonstrates your commitment to fairness with the employee. And can I just say this as a side note? A lot of times we hate to talk about money, but money needs to be talked about. So just an openness to having those conversations is just really key. Your fourth strategy. Okay, let's talk about how you can engage that neutral group. For those that are unsure about how they're being paid, about their compensation's competitiveness. If you've done that annual benchmarking that we talked about in the first strategy, you have some rationale to come back and say, okay, here's some detailed comparisons of what your compensation level is and what we found at other churches that are similar. Involve the candidates or the staff members in discussions about how your church pays. If there are limitations as to what you can pay as a church, which oftentimes there are, a lot of times staff members can make more money if they're not working in the church. If they're working a secular job in the same type of leadership role, they can make more money. And money is not everyone's number one motivator, but understanding how and why they're paid what they're paid is huge. So for those that are neutral, just having those conversations, again, having the conversations about compensation is really important, but seek their input, and this will improve kind of their perception, if there's open communication, their perception of fairness and how you're treating them. Okay. And then number 5, this is a mesh up of the first 4, honestly, is just communicate regularly. As I said, so many times we just don't have conversations about compensation often. A lot of times they happen once a year. A lot of times they don't happen even once a year. Just talking to a senior pastor this past week that said he had never had a performance review, not one, in 13 years. That's crazy. You got to keep the lines of communication open on everything, but particularly in compensation, so that you can make sure that your staff understand how their pay is determined and what kind of input that they have and how they can influence it in the future. At the end of the day, fair and competitive compensation. Man, there are so many long C words in this episode. Competitive compensation conversations. Those are essential for attracting and retaining really great team members. It's not about just the numbers on a paycheck. It really isn't. It's about making sure that each and every staff member feels valued and respected in their contributions. And as church leaders, it's our responsibility to create an environment where everybody feels heard, where everybody is fairly compensated. And just by taking a couple of these strategies, hopefully all 5 of these strategies, and committing to some ongoing improvement, you can build a stronger, more satisfied team that's really even better equipped to carry out your mission. And if you want to keep a long-term team, having these open and honest conversations about compensation more than just once a year is going to really make a difference in the health of your staff team. If you need any help in this area of just even determining, like I said, we do compensation analysis for churches where they just come in and say, hey, Todd, have you or somebody on your team come in and tell us, hey, this is what we're paying. Does this seem reasonable? What would you recommend? If you need a compensation study like that, you can always reach out to me at podcast@Chemistry Staffing. Be happy to get you some more information on how we can make that happen. And if you have not taken the 2024 Church Staff Health Assessment, I would love for you to be able to head over to churchstaffassessment.com and take that today. It's absolutely free. It'll take you about 10 or 15 minutes to go through the 50 questions, but we will send you a customized report specifically based on your answers on how we think you're doing in 7 key areas of church staff health. So you can take that over at churchstaffassessment.com. We're talking about compensation this week, and we'll be talking about a little bit different take on it tomorrow. I hope you'll join us right here on the Healthy Church Staff Podcast. Thanks. Have a great day.